Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are attending Cosmology at home. My name is Claudia Mignone. I'm an astrophysicist and science communicator from Italy, and I'm a mentor in the Supernova Foundation program. And in this session, we're going to talk about Supernova Foundation, which is a mentoring program for women and gender minorities in physics. We're going to find out more about it with some mentors and mentees. But first, let's hear from our founder and director, Michelle Lochner.
Hi, I'm Michelle Lochner. I'm a senior lecturer at the University of the Western Cape in South Africa, but I'm also the founder and director of the Supernova Foundation mentoring program for women and gender minorities in physics. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you today about. So let's start by thinking about why we might need a mentoring program like this. I think probably everybody's pretty aware of the issues of gender equality in STEM fields, and we're particularly talking about physics here. You also might have heard of the so-called leaky pipeline, where women might be equally represented to men in STEM fields at an early stage of career, but with each career stage, disproportionately more women drop out, leaving the representation problem worse and worse and worse as you get more senior. Obviously, this is improving. We as a society have done a lot to improve things for women in the field of physics, but we still haven't quite got it all right yet. So a mentoring program could really help with this. And this is a graph that I'm showing from now quite an old report. It's a decade old, but it's a very comprehensive UNESCO report, and I think there are much newer sources of data just illustrating this leaky pipeline, and that it's not unique to any particular country. This is data from over 200 countries around the world, but I think the context differs between countries, and in some countries it can be worse than others. So would mentoring even help with a problem like this? Well, I'm sure everybody would agree that it's a very complex problem and we need a lot of different solutions to have an impact. But mentoring definitely can be part of the solution. There's a really, really nice article. It was a fairly small scale study, but it was a study in engineering showing that when women students had more senior women role models as mentors, this had a bigger impact on them than if they had men as role models. And from what the authors found from like various interviews, etc., is that having a role model who is in this particular aspect similar to you acts as a kind of social vaccine against stereotypes and feelings of isolation. And when you are in a minority group in a larger community, those feelings of isolation are very common, and things like microaggressions can be very common. And they can be contributing factors to women and gender minorities disproportionately leaving the field at different stages. In that same UNESCO report, they also mention mentoring as part of the solution. And there's a more qualitative article, which is very nice, on interviews with women graduates, really indicated that having good mentoring, from any gender, was actually really key to the success. So you, as a senior person, can have a huge impact on a young person's career by acting as a mentor. So where did we start? We started around 2015. Out of a much smaller scale program. So I was at that stage a postdoc at UCL in London, and my previous PhD supervisor, Bruce Bassett, contacted me, and he said, we've been involved with a group in Mauritius for quite a while, and we've been encouraging the undergraduate students to come over to South Africa and study postgraduates, and it's been really successful. But we can only ever convince the men. The women students really are very reluctant to leave their country and pursue these postgraduate studies. And he felt that there were a lot of cultural influences, family influences, and maybe just having some role models could help them feel more secure in making this decision. And so we started very small. We started with about 7 mentors from all over the world, in astronomy specifically. And Bruce had this idea to have like a virtual mentoring program, so we could just connect over Zoom and just chat with these students and just help encourage them, really. And it did work. We had at least one student come over and do her postgrad in South Africa. But when I looked at this, I thought, this has such potential. It's so scalable. It's such an elegant idea that Bruce came up with. I really think that this could work on a global scale. So we shut down the Mauritian mentoring program and we launched the Supernova Foundation in 2017. So here's a screenshot from our website. Some of our mentors choose to make their profiles public, so you can go and have a look at all the really wonderful women that we have who dedicate some of their time to helping support more junior students from all over the world. I should also mention, I mean, one of the advantages of the Supernova Foundation is it's actually very cheap to run. So we were doing stuff virtually before it was cool, before the pandemic, and that actually makes the costs really, really low. But they're not zero. So I just want to acknowledge our sponsors. We won a grant from the Office of Astronomy for Development to develop our website, which does a lot of automation, and we couldn't run the program without that website. And I also want to acknowledge Prof. Roy Martins, who's head of my group, who's given us a little bit of money for things like a Zoom license, etc. But pretty much the program is run by volunteers, people just volunteering their time to help out. So I talked a bit about our origins, but what is the Supernova Foundation actually about? What do we do on a day-to-day basis? So as of May 2025, we have about 200 mentees, about 100 mentors from 50 countries, which is quite remarkable. Whenever I type @channel in our Slack team, it warns me I'm about to notify people in 22 different time zones, which is an amazing feeling. So we're truly global. And we have a very low barrier to entry in terms of our application process. So to be a mentee in the Supernova Foundation, you just need to be studying in a physics-related field, either at an undergraduate or postgraduate level. To be a mentor, you have to have a PhD and be actively working in physics. And of course, you must identify as a woman or a gender minority. And here, gender minority is a very broad term covering transgender, non-binary, intersex, many very small and marginalized groups in our field. So what happens is mentees apply and they write a profile and they include why they are, what they're looking for from mentoring. And mentors will select their mentees, usually two, and meet with them monthly for private mentoring sessions. And this is all kind of up to them. You know, they figure out how they want to meet, when they want to meet. Usually it's over Zoom or whatever. And the idea here is, of course, the mentor doesn't help the mentee with research or anything. They could be in totally different research fields. But it's really about career advice, perhaps, just general support, encouragement, and just being somebody that a mentee can look up to, somebody who is like them, and just helping them see that, hey, I can do this. There's an example of somebody like me who's made it. And I think that is the thing that has such a huge impact. I mean, the advice is obviously very significant. It's easy to forget what it's like really not knowing anything when you're a student. So when you're a senior person and you just sort of go, oh yeah, just do this, this, and this, that can be extremely impactful. But this idea of having a role model, I think, is also very powerful. For example, we had a student, she was the first woman in her country to get a PhD in astronomy. So that's about as isolated as you can get. You know, she didn't have any women role models. And now she's got access to an entire community of hundreds of women who've succeeded in this field. So that's really what we're all about. The mentoring is the core, but we're also a networking program. So we have the Slack space where people can chat and ask questions. For instance, a mentee might say, hey, I'm moving to Germany next month. Does anyone have any advice for me? Whatever. And we have regular webinars on all kinds of topics, things like, things that affect everybody, like CV writing or applications for PhD programs. But we also have to talk about more sensitive topics, work-life balance, harassment, things like that. So that's really what we're all about. Here's a cool map of our mentors. The more blue it is, the more mentors we have or more people we have from that country. And it's quite interesting to compare this with the map of the mentees, where the mentors are predominantly from the more developed countries with an overrepresentation from South Africa for obvious reasons. The mentees are a bit more spread out, and we have a large representation from South America and this huge group from India. Not sure what happened. Word got out on WhatsApp, and we have an enormous number of wonderful mentees from India, so we're very popular over there. This is just a pie chart with the same kind of data. It's a little bit old, but it kind of gives you the idea that our mentors really come from all over, and our mentees are a little bit more concentrated within certain regions. All right, so what have we been up to the last few years? We're trying to get a little bit more organized. As I said, we're very much volunteer-led. But we are trying to formalize things a bit. We have a pretty solid constitution now, basically dictating how the program is going to run. And we have created a leadership committee, so we have some governance. And because we're all volunteers, we made quite a big committee with fairly narrow portfolios. And so here you can see pictures of our current committee as of 2025. And I just want to point out that for every portfolio, there's both a mentor and a mentee. And I felt that this was important because this program is primarily for the mentees. And so I wanted to make sure that they had good representation in the leadership committee. And so far, this has worked really well, having the seniority and the experience of the mentor, but the energy, enthusiasm, creativity of the mentees just makes this absolutely perfect combination. We also are forming a senior council as people rotate off of the leadership committee. Right now, it's just Valeria. And I can't not shout out to our administrator, who actually is also my mother, Dee Knights. So she helps just vet the applicants and just make sure they meet our criteria. Okay, I wanted to finish this off with some lessons learned, because I do think that the Supernova Foundation can act as a kind of model for other mentoring programs, and not just for women, but for any minority or marginalized group, or really just for anyone. So what have we learned over the last few years? An online community can work really well, especially if you've got a minority group, because you're going to be isolated. You're unlikely to have too many role models who are like you. By going online, you break down those barriers, the geographical barriers, different institutional barriers, and you can be exposed to people who are like you in this particular dimension, and just showing that it is possible to be successful in this field. And I think the fact that it's online not only breaks those barriers, but as I said, it actually runs very cheaply and can scale really well. The fact that we are so global has meant that we have people of many different cultures and backgrounds, and I think that's been very important in the mentor-mentee relationships. Sometimes you might give some advice or give an opinion that's based on your own background, but you have to be mindful that it may not be applicable to that mentee because of their own cultural background. But it really has only made us grow as people, as mentors in particular. And on that line, I think mentors learn a lot from the mentees as well. For me, it's just been an incredibly rewarding experience, especially having mentored for several years, and watching my mentees grow and develop is one of the most gratifying things I've experienced in my career. And I do learn a lot from them. They come in, they are this next generation, they are full of energy, ideas, exposed to all kinds of things. So it's really is a two-way street, this mentoring relationship. I also think that everybody needs mentoring at some point. I remember very well when I started my first faculty job. So I went from this feeling of having, lots of groups and programs to support early career researchers in PhD and postdoc, to just having nothing. You hit your first faculty position, it's just assumed that you know everything and you're fine. And it's probably when you know the least and have no idea what direction to go. So I relied a lot on my own personal mentors. And it reminded me that at every level, everyone needs mentoring. And even at a very senior level, peer mentoring can be extremely beneficial. It's something I've gained from Supernova Foundation. Being able to chat to other women at a similar or more senior career stage has been invaluable. So one of the things that we're doing is trying to break the kind of mentee-mentor dichotomy and create a little bit more of a hierarchy, so that everybody has somebody that they can turn to when they need some advice and some support. And finally, I just wanted to share a few thoughts, especially to any young students who might be watching this video. Things like imposter syndrome, if you're not familiar with that term, look it up. Things like imposter syndrome, anxiety, self-criticism are super common in our field. It's not surprising. We're scientists. We have to face criticism a lot. And it can be very difficult to deal with that. And it's very easy to have negative views of yourself. And particularly if you are coming from a more minority group, that's even more common. So be a scientist about it and look for evidence for those negative thoughts. And you'll probably find you can't find any, and you deserve to be where you are. If you are lucky enough to have a mentor, listen to your mentor's advice. It's going to be valuable. But in the end, you have to make your own choices. You're the only one who can walk the path that you're on. And what works for one other person may not work for you. This is one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned, that in the end, I had to carve my own path, and you can too. And this is a hard job. Being an academic is a hard job. It's always hard to learn new things, and you're always learning new things. But I just want to, if you're feeling kind of like, especially if you're a woman, and you're feeling, I don't know if this is for me, maybe I should get out. I mean, maybe you should, but if you just, I just want to encourage you to stick with it, because it can be an absolutely incredible career. Finally, if you want to be involved, please check out our website. We are always looking for more mentors and mentees, so please feel free to sign up. sign up, sorry. And we have an active social media team, so check out our socials. And of course, I've left my email address there. I would absolutely welcome any questions or comments that you might have. Thank you so much for listening.
Again, I'm Claudia Mignone. I'm originally Italian. I live and work at the National Institute for Astrophysics in Italy, and but I've been around in my career in Germany and the Netherlands. I have a PhD in cosmology, and after that I decided to dedicate my career to public engagement and astronomy, astrophysics education and outreach.
Everyone. And my name is Ghazal Geshnizjani. I am one of the founders of the Supernova Foundation mentoring program. I am originally Iranian, physicist and more specifically cosmologist by training. I've lived in North America for a quarter century, and I'm based at Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics in Canada.
My name is Sabura Zamani. I'm originally from Iran, and but I came here in Poland to study PhD in physics, and I joined the Supernova Foundation around 2020.
Hello everyone, I'm Priyal Bordia, and I am originally from India, Mumbai. And right now I am doing my master's at University of Bologna in Italy. And I've been part of Supernova Foundation since 2020.
So, Ghazal, you have, so you are one of the originators together with Michelle of this program. Would you like to tell us a little bit about, we've heard a little bit about the origins from Michelle, but you have some stories about it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. I mean, Michelle mentioned most of it. I have a fun slide that I can share with you. That's okay. Let me see. How do I share the screen here? Okay. Okay. So this is a photo of me, Michelle, and another founder member, Valeria Poterino. In 2013, we all went to this amazing conference/workshop in Mauritius, and that's the first time. This is Michelle, this is Valeria, me, our friend Bruce Bassett that Michelle mentioned, who after the workshop reached out to us and mentioned, given the history of the some of these JEDI programs and the lack of students who afterwards in female students will still come to physics. And I mean, you can, we did, as you can see, we did have some female participants in the schools, but oftentimes somehow they did not continue. And we were like, it was kind of a puzzle. So he was reaching out to us to say, do you think if it's students far away from you and some of the globe might help to help encourage them and support and provide some support. And so we built on that idea. As you can see, originally there was like few of us. The first batch of mentors, there was only 7 of us. In fact, many of them are recruited from Canada. Sarah Shandera, Chiamaka Okoli, and Nafiu Zwan, who is now back in Africa. Unfortunately, one of us passed away, Dr. Okoli, which is an inspiring story by itself. But I think out of that small group of mentors and the experience we had, the next stage of this mentoring program, which was Supernova Foundation, was born. Seeing the passion of the students and the grassroots help of our mentors across the world who were willing to volunteer their time and commit to this thing, which is an incredible thing, given that we know all of how women in academia are most of the time overworked, but still they devote their times to this initiative. We managed to grow the network as big as you can see, and Michelle already mentioned the statistics. So yeah. Oh, one thing I guess I have to mention, what you don't see in this photo, this beautiful photo, is also, if that will come. this little guy who I took along to the to the conference, and is probably somewhere in the sun, and should be running after him after the photo. Okay.
It's now not so little, I can imagine.
No, a teenager. Much harder to keep an eye on him.
Thanks for this dive back into the story. So perhaps I'd like to ask Sabura and Priyal if you have some highlights from. So you joined the program as mentees in the past few years, and if you have some stories that you would like to share as well from your experience.
So for me, I should just first mention that how Supernova Foundation had a really important role in my life, because I joined in 2020 and it was COVID. So you literally didn't have any contact with your, like in your city. And I was joining to the community that I could talk and talk about like the feelings, the ideas with people like all around the world. And I found my mentor there, and it was really great experience. I was like, wow, like my mentor is from Spain. And so at some point, I had a guide that like step by step guided me through like application with PhD, and even emotional support during that time. But the highlight is that the connection that we built during past few years. And at that time, I never thought that one day I could see her in person. But exactly last year, this time, she invited me for a talk in University of Valencia. And I saw her, and it was really emotional moment that I saw a person that she was my friend and my mentor, my guide for so many years, and without seeing me in person. And I saw her, and it was really amazing moment to see that, and all the support that you had all during these years. But this thing was really, really valuable for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, in fact, we are a network that is very scattered around the globe, and the core of Supernova Foundation is one-to-one mentoring. So we have regular monthly meeting with between mentors and mentees. Then we also have webinars, and we have a Slack channel in which we chat, we share tips, jobs, opportunities. We plan ahead, and also we meet we meet each other virtually. And then there are also some nice stories in which two mentees ended up finding an apartment together and eventually became roommates, and they had met on the Slack channel. So I think that highlights one of the aspects, which is probably one of the biggest values of such a program, which is the community. The fact that the foundation was able to build such a strong community of people that that maybe have not yet most of them met in person. Priyal, do you have anything similar to share?
I mean, I have joined Supernova Foundation in 2020, and since then, I think there has been so many moments which are highlights in my life, not just with the organization, but also in my own life, in my personal life also, because of the bond that I got to form with my mentor and other mentors and also other mentees. I want to name everyone because it's so amazing that the support that they have always given me. And whenever I have written to anyone, I don't remember a single person not replying back to me in a way that would clear my head of things or give me a proper direction. That is the biggest highlight for me with Supernova Foundation. So, but I can share some moments, like very special moments. First was with my mentor, Marina Cortez. I don't know if she is going to watch this in the conference because she's also a cosmologist. So with her, I specifically remember the first year's mentoring sessions dates even today because of how valuable each and every session has been for me. Because that time I was struggling to cope up with what exactly the world of physics looked like, what exactly academia was, because I come from a family which has background of business, and they're all from commerce. They don't know anything about a career in physics. In fact, even in faraway relatives or friends, I don't have anyone who is pursuing something similar. So then I met my mentor, and even after bachelor's, I was not sure how to move forward. I knew what I want to become, but I didn't know how to get there. And she has been there for me, like at every single point of it, building my confidence from inside, building my self-esteem, giving me that support that even today, if I ever feel like, okay, I am feeling so down that I don't think I am worth this or that, the voice inside my head is of hers, which speaks to me that you can do this because you have come here and you have been through everything else. So you can definitely do this. But that's the moment with my mentor. Then there's another person who is amongst us right now, Claudia Mignone. I mean, how can I even put it into words, the support I have got from her? Like, I've met her thrice now, and just the last time we managed to take a picture together because before that first two times we were just talking the whole time and we forgot to take any pictures. In fact, I don't remember even checking my phone once. Rather, the only time we checked our phones was it was midnight and the restaurant was like, oh, we're about to get close. So we had to get up from that place and start walking back again. Other than that, other than mentors, I mean, I've had amazing talks with Michelle also. And I remember also with Ghazal, because I was in an online school and that time I felt so grateful that there is she whom I can reach out to if I have anything. And yeah, these are all the mentors and the mentees. I mean, I have not met most of them. In fact, the only mentors I've met is Claudia and 3 more who are all in Italy. And other than them, I'm yet to meet everyone, but like the mentees are also like they've become part of such an inseparable part of my life that I don't think if they were not there in my life where I would be. It's a shout out to Anna or Rahima, and yeah, mainly these 2 mentees who have always been around. So, yes.
Yeah, thanks for the enthusiasm, and I think that's again one of the aspects that the community, even if it's virtual, can support. One of the difficulties of women in such a male-dominated field as is physics, because nowadays there have been women in physics now for many decades and longer, but there's still a sense of isolation because maybe in one department or in one research group there's still maybe one full professor who is a woman that you don't always get to talk to, and even at student level there's not as many, of course, as the male students, and feelings that are common in physics or anyway in challenging fields such as STEM subjects, feelings of inadequacy, imposter syndrome, and so on. They are widespread across the full student body and beyond. But then if you don't recognize yourself in the profession as an identity, as a gender, that can be harder, and then in many cases it doesn't help progressing. So yeah, that's one aspect in which we, with the Supernova Foundation and sister initiatives, we try to work on that. And so, for example, Ghazal, what could be challenging aspects that you've seen as like in your you have a very advanced position, and you must have seen a lot of situations, and how can we handle them?
So you bring up a very important point, and I'm glad you highlighted. And it's so heartwarming to hear Sabura and Priyal and other mentees' story, because really the best, as I said, this is a voluntary initiative. So the best reward at the end of the day is when we hear these stories, and when we hear one of our students moved on in their career to the next stage. These are the what did we get out of it? Maybe before I get to the point that you brought up, like also a good, maybe I don't want to say we have to do overwork ourselves for free and voluntarily, all the women, because they have been doing that for the most of the history. But one aspect of what we do is because I think we are external, like if I'm mentoring someone who is not in my institute and it's not part of my regular job description, there is not much of a performative aspect to it. Because sometimes I know there's goodwill and good faith programs that they try to implement such a program, but oftentimes it's having someone who is objective and outside of the institute to mentor brings a new perspective. And I think part of the success may be that, because we don't have anything at stake, right? When we are mentoring our mentees, and it's not necessarily like my colleague sitting next door that I have to say something that might be conflict of interest. Right? So that's the important part of it. But the other thing that you bring up, the challenges, right? So in fact, I was at a talk last week where they were saying, well, some institutes do this initiative, mentoring and similar thing. These are performative. What we need is a systematic change. And I totally agree with that. We do definitely need a systematic change because at the end of the day, there are problems systematically, and unless they change, the whole problem will not be solved necessarily. But I want to emphasize, one is not replacement of the other one. What we saw and why we saw there's so much people coming to the program and needing, because the need is urgent. We need a community at this point. This is a short-term thing. We cannot wait for another 20 years until we address all the systematic problems, and we lose all the women who are the students at this point, and they don't have anybody to provide the community inclusivity, the support to them. So this is obviously the minimal thing we are doing at this point, but it doesn't mean doing this means we shouldn't be addressing all those other challenges that are still there. And it's kind of, I think maybe Michelle at some point always said, it's like we are trying to give the vaccinations or some treatment to the system, but it would be nice if we completely didn't have the disease to begin with to treat it. That would be a much better situation. But yeah, this and again, the sense of communities isn't just, and I've seen it for myself, maybe you have mentioned mentees from each other. It's not that we have a senior group necessarily just mentoring the junior people in their career. A lot of support is peer mentoring. When I talk to my own, another established person in their career in somewhere else in another continent, and telling me they're seeing the similar situation, facing similar challenges, and providing me with some share their experience, what worked with them, what didn't work. That just comes with the fact that we formed a community. So yeah, the challenges are still there, to go back to your questions, and there is a lot. But I think there's a lot to be proud of by what we have done, and I think there's so much value into it.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, yeah, the peer mentoring aspect is something that is also important because we receive a lot of mentee requests, and then the fact that the mentees have this virtual space to interact with each other, and also they can watch the replays of our webinars in which we tackle topics such as how to write your CV, how to apply for PhD position, masters, postdocs, or imposter syndrome, how to cope with isolation and this sort of aspects. That helps. But I have to say that even among mentors, I've been a mentor since 2017. So it's a few years, and even myself back then, I was in an institution in which I was also there were several senior women, but not in a way in which you would discuss things at ease about your job situation, because again, you're in the same institution. So as you mentioned, there's this peer this performative pressure. And I remember that myself, I was inspired during one of the webinars by another mentor to just take a stance for myself and it's Satya Gonso, and she mentions that often. I think it's even on her webpage that she says you have to take ownership of your own education, of your own career path, and I think that really stuck with me, and it pushed me towards a number of career moves I was uncertain to take at that time. But then, so I'm even myself very grateful for as a mentor for my own development.
I should also say I'm thankful to you because I never forget you gave some tips about giving talks at some point. It stuck with me. I'm like, wow, they were like, I mean, I have given so much thoughts, but I never knew some of these things. It's never really.
That's great, thanks. Good to, yeah, the idea that you can share skills, soft skills even, that there's a place where everybody can share and learn from everybody, and I think that's the spirit. So if we're trying to present the organization to potential mentees and mentors, yeah, that's part of the spirit. So Sabura, do you have any what do you think challenges are that women in physics encounter, and that maybe we can be overcome with the help of a mentoring program like this?
For me, because I have this problem, like personally also, it's the confidence. And because whenever I'm in a conference or in a community, and when something come up and I should answer and I'm not sure about my answer, I think on a at the same level, if I have a colleague that he's male, I feel more ashamed that I don't know if we both don't know. I feel like, oh, I'm failing all the women in the history, and it's really bad. And I always try to improve and don't think this way. And I think one of the aspects is to increase your self-confidence and to be aware that the old ideas about women in physics you should remove it from your mind, and you shouldn't. You believe in the fact that women and men are equal in academia, but at some point in really hard and a stressful situation, it comes up that, oh, you're making it wrong. So for me, mentoring sessions helped me to, because my mentor, I didn't tell her name, Isabel Cordero Carrillo, she's amazing. She's really like for me, the meaning of a strong, independent woman. And she's like, no, like, okay, you don't know, you will answer it, and like you will answer this way. And I was like, yeah, I shouldn't make it that much hard, and you should think it like, yeah, I don't know it and I will know it. Like, so, and for me this was like amazing, because I always try to like not try, but I get too stressed or I overthink about situations, and she was like really guiding me that do this, or this is also an option. And that was amazing. And yeah, that was one of the we had so many different types of conversations, from just academic, scientific to personal improvement. But the fact that I can be calm and be sure about myself that this can be done, nothing can be like it's impossible, is like one of the golden points that I got from my mentoring sessions.
Yes, I guess that, I mean, when we write theses, PhD theses and papers, we publish all that we learn regarding the subject, but then through the journey of education and then further career steps, there's so much more that we learn, and that is, yeah, it's not published. That's not a manual how to be PhD student, how to get through a graduate program in physics. But we also, as we grow, as we proceed on the career steps. We carry this extra set of experience and knowledge, and it's refreshing even that it can be useful, because so many times it has happened with my mentees that they were stuck in a certain situation and they thought it was about themselves, and you think it's about you and that you're the problem, and then you get stuck in that and you cannot proceed with other issues. And just the fact of hearing, oh, that has happened to me as well, or I know someone who went through that and then they did A, and then maybe you will do B, but the idea that someone else has gone through that, and not just another one, but a body of people, even if in different countries, in a way that normalizes those weird situations, and can be helpful, especially when you're lost and stuck and thinking I cannot get through that, because we can. Priyal, why do you think a program like this one is important?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting in another country without this program and the members of it. So I think it is really, really important to have a program like Supernova Foundation, because I have been, I think, very fortunate that a program like this exists. When we talk with our friends in another fields who don't have access to such programs, they are so lost on where to move forward with, because a lot of times, in fact, not a lot of time, I think most of the times, you are alone in a crowded room because you're different and you're aiming for something different. And it's not necessary that you will have a senior or more experienced person or professor or a teacher in that particular place itself. In fact, it is amazing if you can get an overview of things on the other side of the world, because I come from the Eastern world, and this was a completely Western world thing to apply for different positions and all in a way which is not used there. So we get to learn about that when we get into a program like Supernova Foundation. Second, if we have decided to move away from our country, we get the strength of that. We know at least one person in that part of the world. It's not a complete foreign thing for us, because you can just go there and ask them to connect you with someone else. And because you need, as a girl, as a woman, we need that trust factor. And I think personally, I would trust a woman any day more than men, even if, especially when they are strangers as in not someone you have ever met in person and you've just talked online, because it is a thing. Maybe it's a feeling, maybe it's a comfort zone or like that. But yes, so you get to know about the other side of the world, wherever you are, not just here and not just like East and West, but anywhere. And most important, as you were talking about imposter syndrome and a lot of confidence issues. So having a program like this, when we have the sessions of the online webinars that we are having in every some time, and they are super helpful, because for example, if I didn't know how to write a good CV, which is relevant in other institutes, because it is not something we do in our country, then I wouldn't know anything about this side of the world. And most important is the guidance part, like how to do, when to do, and why is it important that you do it. With this program, I have realized that how important it is to create your own voice, because in this whole program, they give us an amazing platform to speak up and treat us equally, which is something, unfortunately, not everywhere. They treat you based on your age. They treat you based on your physical structure or how you look, your looks, but they forget about the important things, that is your mental strength and all. With this program and program like Supernova Foundation in general, I think that is the most important thing that we can build upon. So yeah, it is important in every aspect, physical, maybe emotional also. It's like people are not bound by anything. They are not required to do it. They don't need to do it. they want to do it. That's why they are doing, which makes it so much more pure and amazing and magical, I would say.
Yeah, the magic is an important component. So I think we're approaching the end of the panel. So maybe if each of you would like to summarize your experience with one or a few words, let's do a round, and then we. Of course, the audience can ask questions. Live, and then we're gonna members of our community are answering. But yeah, how would you summarize the experience and the way ahead?
Maybe I go first. Sini. I like the word magic that Priyal mentioned, because I do really think it was magic. Not in my wildest dreams, and it would take off this much, and so many amazing women from around the world would join us. As I said, like we started with 7 people, 7 mentors and 8 mentees, something like that, and now like we have hundreds. And it's just, and also it wasn't every sense of it. It was the grassroots effort of women like who were really passionate about it. They were genuine. Nobody trained us. None of us were trained. We learned as we explored. It was a learning curve for me, for all of us, I think, and we're still learning. I hope that we can build on what we have learned and make it even better. And as you know, it's every day is it might be a new challenge, new thing that we have to work around. Yeah, I'm glad. I think it's been an amazing journey.
If I want to say, I can also even use the magic word, because it was really magic. The link that I saw in a group chat, that this is the link to Supernova Foundation to sign up. I normally don't open all the links in that group. And I opened that, and it was magically, I got joined, I found my mentor. And I'm really glad that this platform exists and I could join, and it changed the whole path of my life and career. So it has a really deep effect on my life. And maybe it's a real cliche that people at the end thanks the organizer, like the people that build this platform. But I really like to thank Ghazal, and Michelle, Valeria, Claudia, and I'm definitely missing other people. But I'm just, as a person that coming from a third world country, I know how much it is important as a female and how much it can change the life. So I'm really glad that we have this community. And that's it from me.
Well, for me, I mean, magic, I think, is a word which we all have used, and I'm going to keep it constant because, yes, it is so magical. It has been magical in a way that Supernova Foundation has given me a perspective that there are kind people in the world. There are people who are intelligent and are kind. And physicists are really humans. They don't have to fit into the definition of genius that has been created in the world, which is like, we don't eat, we don't sleep, we don't dress up. No, we do all of that. We are as human as others. It's just, we can think in our field. So for me, the one quote that defines Supernova Foundation is, the journey is not about becoming something, but unbecoming everything that I am not. And Supernova Foundation has been that for me. And it has literally changed everything in my life. And it has basically created the person who I am right now in my growing years, especially. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone in the organization, all the mentors, all the mentees, and especially the founders who thought of creating something this beautiful, this pure, this transparent. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's great to see as more mentees grow to become early career scientists, researchers, physicists, and move across the world. And that's really, again, a testament to the founders, what we now consolidated in the leadership, but actually the work of everyone in the organization, mentors and mentees. And I think maybe if I have to summarize it with a word, I would like to use, well, magic, of course. It is, but there is no magic without care. I think that the underlying feeling and work that goes around this care. We do this in our volunteers, so we do it in our spare time. We do it because we care and we believe that a better community is possible in physics and academia for women, gender minorities, and actually for everyone in the world if we just approach it with care. So with this, I wish you a great rest of the conference, and thank you so much for having us and presenting Supernova Foundation.